to the lesser building corporation under the proposed lease is a fair and reasonable rental for the proposed improvements. Similarly, before a school corporation can appropriate any dollars it directly receives as bond proceeds, it must conduct a hearing on those proceeds for the additional appropriation of those funds. We'll now hear from Dr. Mungle about the needs of the projects.
Mr. President, board members, the need for us in our debt service fund as we look and we have several funds, bonds that are being paid off, and to have an effort to address some of the needs we have at the our schools, in visiting with the different schools. And I think in looking back at the history of some of the projects that have been talked about and discussed in the past, that brings us to now where we have the opportunity to bond this money. It will not have an increase on our tax rate from 2019. In fact, it will have a little bit of a decrease. Not to get anyone excited, the decrease does not necessarily mean that anyone's taxes are going down. They'll just be adjusted accordingly with the other taxing units in our townships. But we're looking at further projects. The one project, and historically in the past, obviously a thing that with the number of students that use our different facilities and the limited use and the presentations we've heard at our last two board meetings for the athletic facilities at the high school, to try to enhance those facilities. One, to decrease some cost of maintaining those facilities, but most importantly, having facilities that will increase the usage with the football fields, with the band and the soccer teams having the opportunity. And obviously, not only could the high school team use it for their games, but they would also have that to use as their practice, along with the middle school athletic games could be hosted at the high school. Looking at the other fields, we, as you know, host many IHSAA events, one for several years, hosting the semi-state and girls softball, along with others, will be opportunities to enhance that field and increase the usage. So those are some of the items that we're looking at the high school level. I know there are things that the district has looked at in the past, and you know, it's probably never been the right time to move forward. And we've also been able to see some positive results, and I think information from other schools that have done that, and then the increased usage that they've seen. And the other half of the money that would be bonded, we're looking at doing mainly looking at the infrastructure items in our elementary schools, and going through and trying to get looking at the roofing needs, looking at the HVAC needs. But as we go through that process, we'll do a better job to try to bring back information to the board. So as we move forward, to develop that plan of, you know, these are the items that we need to do, and at least try to get a better understanding of, you know, these are some of the projects, and these are the items that need to be addressed over the next 5 years, and develop and have a plan. So obviously we look at doing items in the our elementary schools, but yet also as we bring people in, we'll do an evaluation. When we go through that process, we'll also look at the security and safety needs. Obviously, whatever measures we can continue to take from a security standpoint, and North Lawrence has invested a lot of time and energy and resources into the security of our students as we enter our schools, and the availability. And even this summer, we've made opportunities at Lincoln Elementary, at Olytic Elementary, and Shawswick Elementary. So we have a clear vision, and we know who we're letting into those schools. And those were some things that we didn't have in the past. And obviously, in light of COVID, anything that we can continue to do to enhance the safety of our schools, in the safety, but yet some of the items as we look at refilling stations for our students with water, their own personal water bottles. We have a couple schools that have some of those, but those are items that we need to make consistent with all of our schools. I think in looking at any additional measures we need to take in our nurses stations or even in our classrooms. We have purchased many items with a hand sanitizer. We're looking at different disinfectants. We have trainings scheduled that all of our custodians will be going through and learning the training before school starts this year and looking at that consistency. So there could be some possible funds if we learn of safety and security needs. Those would also be additional funds that we could use these funds towards. So any questions on that? I will bring to you, I think, as we get closer, we have worked some with Covert Hawkins architect, and they have many of the blueprints and plans and much of the information on our schools. So I'll bring that information to you. And also at our next board meeting, we'll have a presentation from the company, Mosgriff, I believe is the name of the company, that has helped several of the schools with their synthetic turf, and I think an opportunity to learn a little bit more about them and how that process works and their work with the state bid list and stuff that most schools have done. They have completed several projects, and they're currently in the process of some projects at Jennings County High School, Charleston High School, and possibly even Jeffersonville or New Albany. So those are some projects that are going on close to us with their athletic fields. So it'd be an opportunity to learn more. So just want to share that information. Any questions on that? We've tried to present some the last two meetings, just kind of the need.
Okay, we'll now open the public hearing. Remember, if you'd like to speak, please sign in on the sheet that's located in the lobby. As I mentioned earlier, we ask that you state your name and address, limit your comments, the proposed project and financing, keep any comments to 3 minutes, and avoid being repetitive if possible. May I have here's the sign-in sheet. And no one has signed the sign-in sheet to speak in the public hearing. I didn't see it out there.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Mr. Bay, I think would like to.
You got a number of sheets out there and a number of blue cards.
Did you put your name on the sheets?
I put my name on a sheet. I don't know if it was that sheet.
Did you intend to put it on this sheet?
There's so many sheets out there. I'm not gonna
Would you like
If
to
you'd like to
speak?
comment.
Yeah.
Oh, here you have my little card.
Thank you.
Are you all voting tonight on borrowing this money?
Could you, for the record, could you state your name, address?
It's Edward Bay, Oak Ridge Drive, Bedford, Indiana.
Thank you.
I didn't hear a plan from Mr. Mungo about borrowing this money. I've seen no itemized details, what you're gonna spend on AstroTurf, what you're gonna spend in all these schools. It sounds like you want to borrow a $5.5 million slush fund. If that's true, I and most other Lawrence County taxpayers would be opposed to it. I'm opposed to any borrowing at this point. We're in the middle of a global pandemic. It doesn't seem like it makes good sense for the school board to install products at BNL that's going to increase attendance to events that the governor may outlaw. And here you are deciding to borrow money to do that. And you're going to pay $200,000 for that privilege. think you're trying to create a false sense of urgency that the school system can't borrow this money beyond right now. And that simply isn't true. You, over the last decade, you've borrowed money 3 times at least. And in the next decade, you'll do the same thing. There's no sense of urgency here. You do not know. You don't know what the impact of COVID is going to be on this upcoming school year. You don't know what the impact of the school consolidation is going to be in this upcoming school year. I think you're being irresponsible to consider it. I think you should bring a plan that if you want to do all this stuff, bring a plan forward that doesn't spend any money. You're closing 3 schools. You're saving a tremendous amount of money in doing that. Or at least that's what we've been told by you. Maybe that's not true. Why borrow any money? Why not live within our means? Thank you.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any others to speak on that public hearing? So the next item on the agenda is for the board to hold additional appropriation hearing in connection with the proposed construction projects. After the presentation will be an opportunity for the public to make comments about the projects. At the hearing, we will ask that each person limit their comments to 3 minutes, and the topic be limited to proposed project and to the proposed project under consideration. The notice of additional appropriation hearing was published as legally required on July 2nd, 2020 in the Bedford Times Mail. And I'll open the public hearing. Mr. Pittman, could you please summarize the resolution? I'm sorry. Could you please summarize the resolution authorization execution of lease?
Thank you, Mr. President. Before we get to that, I don't know if anybody signed up to speak at this public hearing. Has that sheet been forwarded to you?
Oh,
The hearing on the additional appropriations. They're 2 separate hearings.
2 separate, okay.
I assume there was a second sheet. No one signed up.
I didn't see it.
Anybody want to speak on it?
Would anybody like to speak?
I don't know what you're going to do.
Anybody like to speak?
I'll just speak on this. I just need to know the process of bidding and all that type of stuff. It's a post in the paper. I just want to run down and I'm gonna hit K too.
Go ahead for the record, Mr. Phillips.
Okay.
State your
We're not
name,
ready.
please.
We're not ready for K yet.
I know, I'm coming with that later. It's Rob Phillips, Springville. I'm just curious on the process of how, is it the post in the paper? Is it on your website? Or what's the process?
For bidding on the project.
For the bonds, the bidding on projects, jobs, if somebody wanted to bid on a job, all that stuff.
It's all falls under Indiana code and everything's presented in the paper and, yeah, I mean, it all falls under Indiana code.
Okay. It's
I mean,
posted
we
in the
have
paper.
architect, we have to have the stamps, the civil engineers and the plans, and it's just a process that the state goes through for public agencies when they spend money.
Okay, and that's what I wanted to know. Then I also want to oppose all this with the money savings from your school closings. I'm against it also. So,
Thank you.
thank you.
Just so we have it in our minutes, the only time that we wouldn't, the state of Indiana does have a state bid list for different projects, school buses and different things that allows schools to purchase items directly off of that state bid list. So those are items that wouldn't go through the traditional bidding process
But there's been notice and opportunity to bid on those.
Correct.
to get on that state bid list.
Okay.
And on the state bid list, is that like, is that like on the trucks? I know on the trucks and the buses, there's a state bid list. And that is, that is done kind of by a line item. It's not, it's like per vehicle with this option and that option and stuff like that. And it would be the same way if, for instance, you said using the turf field, we would go, through that and get get a quote from at least 2 or 3 that are on the approved state bid list.
And we would have those two reviewed that is on the state bid list. And, you know, we'd have the opportunity to know their work. That's an example that's on the state bid list. We can purchase paper off the state bid list when we purchase like semi-loads of paper and different things. So
Just purchasing, right?
it's just purchasing. It's just purchasing off the state bid list. They've actually, the state on our behalf, public agencies have went through that bidding process. And I believe they just stay on that state bid list for 1 year. You know, that they bid that yearly. It just allows some savings is why they've done it, where we wouldn't have the attorneys or going through the different steps and, you know, those items that are traditionally done. And, you know, I'm sure in the beginning, those contractors of the synthetic turf fields were not on the state bid list, but as all of the school districts across the state have or begin to, or, you know, to our north, they're doing 4 fields right now. You know, baseball fields and softball fields. So it's something, you know, we're seeing more often, but yeah.
So if you're a contractor, you'd be on that list or a different list? That's my
So-
question also.
Mr. Goodman, could you please summarize the resolution authorizing execution
I
of
will.
lease?
As required by Indiana Code 20-47-3, after a lease hearing, the school board must approve the lease agreement and authorize the school board officers to execute such agreement. This lease is the agreement whereby the school corporation will levy the required property tax to pay the lease payments throughout the life of the bond issue. The lease payments will be paid to the building corporation and used to pay the bondholders to repay the proposed bonds. That's, I believe you all have a copy of the resolution.
Can I get a motion?
I assumed it was in your packet, but
I'll make a motion to approve.
Got a motion, in a second.
I second.
Mr. Arnold makes a motion, Mr. Gilbert seconds the motion. Questions on the motion?
What we're voting, what we are approving, just to borrow the money, like what Damian came and spoke about? Like actually just borrowing the money, doing the lease, is that what we're voting on right now?
We're not approving and we haven't taken any bids and we're not approving any contractor to do any type of job or anything of that nature. But we are saying that we will borrow up to this amount and not just exceed this amount.
And I mean, I think this was kind of covered earlier, but Mr. Bay, touched on it, the urgency. I know that we kind of talked about the timing of this right now as why it's a good time. Can you just kind of remind us why it's a good time now to go ahead and borrow this money as opposed to waiting?
All school districts in Indiana, the only way we can build new or maintain or make upgrades to our facilities is through the debt service fund. We have the opportunity a little bit with our rainy day fund that when we have that emergency, that we can do something, but that is how all school districts, that's our avenue to use the revenue to maintain our funds. It is unusual, and I think traditionally, and I understand during this time, you would think that we wouldn't want to do that. In school finance, we're not asking for any more. And in fact, the North Lawrence Community School tax rate will be going down from 38 cents to 34 cents. It was 38 cents in 2019 and in 2017 before all of us here. So even with this, it is decreasing 4 cents. In comparison to some other school districts, Mitchell to the south is 58 cents. And I would say a range of the schools are more in that 50 cents to 80 cents range. Monroe County Schools to our north is one that has going through the bond process, very just like ours. You know, they've borrowed right at $100 million. They're building a new middle school, and they are, you know, doing things to athletic fields and lots of their facilities. Seymour Community Schools to our east, they had a meeting this week. They're right at $55 million. They're looking at a new middle school. They're looking at an indoor athletic facility and other additional upgrades and things that they need to. Over time, and I think we have to think that a year from now, Indiana's going to look differently, and we're going to get back to a normal Sunday. You know, North Lawrence Community Schools and these other schools, never in the past have we been able to borrow money at this level of interest rate. So when you look at that we have the possibilities in some of these other schools, you know, it's under 2%. And we're looking at the maximum length of this bond as 10 years, because we want to give ourselves flexibility, but we're anticipating a 6-year payoff for this loan.
And this is traditionally where, in the past, where we have gotten the money to put in the new HVAC systems or the new gym floor at the elementary.
It's the only place, yes, that's correct. And not just us, but all school districts.
So it's not a slush fund, it has to be used for capital projects only.
Correct, yeah.
It isn't slush fund, so.
It's capital projects money to maintain the building.
And you don't know what capital projects you're gonna use it on. You're borrowing money that you're gonna put in the bank that you don't know what you're gonna spend it on.
We have an
And
idea.
that's not what you were voted in. You have an idea.
Yeah.
No,
We know.
you have a wish list. You don't have an idea.
A roof is not a wish list, sir.
A roof is a wish list. It should be handled in the repair and maintenance lines of your P&Ls that are created by every school district.
And then I just have another question, sorry. Again, at previous meetings, you talked about the things that we need. I think HVAC is on there, roof somewhere. I mean, there's just different things that are needed, including, and then things that we want. And I know there's needed, things we want. I know those are different things. AstroTurf, things like that. So if we vote to borrow this money now, is that saying we're locked into all those things you presented, or not?
No.
Okay.
No.
So
I haven't
it's gonna be-
presented any details as far as this contractor and this dollar amount for this roof and this building or this HVAC system or.
So you'll
any
come
of
to us
that.
later and be like, okay, Olynyk needs HVAC.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
asking
gonna be
that
itemized,
you
and we're gonna know.
approve this new system for whatever much it costs. And then if we think that that's not a needed item, we can vote no at that time.
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. If an individual felt this gives us we would never proceed and spend some of the funds to go through that bidding process of hiring the architects, spending the time with them and going through the bid process, if we didn't have the funds available. So, I mean, this process allows us to have the funds available, so then we do the next step and we come back. And what I've shared with you, we will present something that would be not to exceed $2.6 million at the high school campus and not exceed $2.6 million at the elementary schools.
You have a $50 million budget. You're gonna close
Or-
3
Chris, do you have
schools.
any Further
No,
questions?
thank you.
Thanks.
Clear.
They closed their
So we got a motion,
new
in a
schools, they're in
second.
good shape.
Mr. Phillips.
Now they wanna fix the
I'm gonna
old schools.
ask you nicely to please stop interrupting. The motion in a second. No questions, all in favor, signify by
Aye.
aye. Those opposed, same. Mr. Phillips. Moving on, Mr. Pittman.
Thank you, Mr. President. The next matter is to present the additional appropriation resolution. The additional appropriation resolution outlines the appropriation of funds received for the sale of real estate, if this becomes applicable. The resolution also specifies that any such funds will be placed in a school corporation construction account, separate from all other school corporation funds until the project is completed. So I'd present that to you for your determination.
Can I get a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Gilbert makes a motion in a second.
Second.
Earl seconds the motion. Questions on the motion?
So can you just explain what this is as opposed to what we've just done? What, can you just give us a little explanation?
The additional appropriation resolution. It states that the Board of School Trustees of School Corporation finds that the present facilities of school corporation are not adequate to provide for the proper educational environment of the pupils now attending or will attend its schools. And the board has determined to sell certain real estate to the North Morris Community Schools Building Corporation for a purchase price not to exceed $5,350,000, and to use such proceeds to renovate and improve the facilities within the school corporation, including site improvements and the purchase of equipment and technology. And whereas the estimated cost of the project at the present time is in the approximate amount of $5,350,000, and the board finds that no sufficient provision has been made on account thereof in the existing budget, that need exists for the making of an additional appropriation for such purpose. So that's what you're approving by passing the additional appropriation resolution.
So what you mentioned, and I'm not saying, I think I'm reading along, but I didn't see this. I thought you mentioned something about the sale of property. What is that in reference to? This is
The
just,
school building corporation will own the real estate. It's actually transferred by deed to the building corporation. That's what's been done in every bond issue we've done.
oh, the bond.
And that's a state
And then-
requirement.
Yes, and then so the building corporation holds title to the real estate that's collateral for the bond issue,
Okay.
the trust indenture, and then the school corporation leases back, and those lease payments pay the bond.
And the lease payments are no more than what it costs to pay the debt on the bond. The lease corporation makes no money off of this, correct?
Who?
The lease,
Holding court.
the holding
No,
corporation.
no, they make no money.
They are not entitled to any fees or anything like that.
No, they're a nonprofit.
Any further questions? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same. Motion's carried. Mr. Pittman, could you please read the next resolution?
Yes, the next resolution is a resolution reapproving the formation of the building corporation we just talked about. The building corporation was previously formed to assist the school corporation in the financing, renovating, constructing, and improving facilities within the school corporation. So this reapproves the building corporation as already established.
Get a motion to approve.
Motion.
Arnold makes a motion in a second.
Second.
Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Those opposed, same. Thank you. Next item, please.
For these projects, the building corporation will own a portion of the Bedford North Lawrence High School building, which will be renovated. The building corporation will also be the issuer of the bonds. The bond proceeds will be held by the trustee bank and will be used to pay the contractors for the work that's done on the building. As a result, the construction contracts will need to be with the building corporation because the building corporation will hold the money to pay the contractors. The school corporation receives the bids and or contracts and awards the bids and or contracts under state law, but then assigns those bids and or contracts to the building corporation for payment. So the resolution assigning construction bids is for that purpose, to assign them to the, once received and let, would be assigned to the building corporation to be paid. So that's the resolution assigning construction bids and contracts once received. It needs to be approved, and I offer that to you for your determination.
Get a motion to approve. Arnold makes the motion and second. Claire seconds the motion. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Thank you, motion's carried.
And the next resolution is a resolution approving master continuing disclosure undertaking. This resolution satisfies the Securities and Exchange Commission requirement that the school corporation enter into a master continuing disclosure undertaking agreement if it issues bonds to public investors. The agreement requires that the school corporation agrees to timely provide certain financial information and provide notice of certain material events if and when they occur. I'd offer that resolution to you for your determination.
Get a motion to approve. Ms. Collier makes the motion in a second.
Second.
Mr. Arnold seconds the motion. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion's carried.
And finally, the last resolution for this evening, resolution approving amended and restated post-issuance compliance procedures. This resolution approves the form of the amended and restated post-issuance compliance procedures. You couldn't guess that, so I'd offer that for your consideration.
Get a motion to approve. Arnold, motion in a second.
Second.
Ms. Collier, second motion. Questions on the motion?
Could you provide a little more detail on this?
That's all right here if you'd like to read it. I won't bore you with reading it into the record.
Any other questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Questions carried. Thank you. Okay. So with that, for the public hearing, we'll adjourn. And before we start the other public meeting, so get a motion to adjourn. Mr. Collier makes the motion in a second. Seconds the motion. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Thank you. We will go ahead now and get the public meeting started. The meeting is a meeting of the school board in public for the purpose of conducting the school corporation's business and is not to be considered a public community meeting. There may be time for public participation as indicated by agenda item or as directed by the president. The meeting site is fully accessible. Any person requiring further accommodations should contact the superintendent at the school corporation central office. The meeting will be electronically recorded and will be kept on file in the superintendent's office. A copy of the audio recording will also be available on the NLCS website Website address is www.nlcs.k12.in.us. I would call meeting to order, rise and uncover, say the pledge. Ms. Coleman,
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Item 3, review for approval minutes of executive session memorandum of July 2nd, 2020. Get a motion to approve. Ms. Collier makes the motion. Arnold seconds the
Second.
motion. Motion. Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same. Thank you. Motion's carried. Persons to address the board relative to the agenda. If you wish to make public comments on items relative to the agenda, please place a completed comment card on the podium prior to the start of the meeting. As a reminder, during public comments, the board administration will not be answering questions, and there's a 3-minute time limit. No persons to address the board relative to the agenda. Item F, business services, Mrs. Rome.
Thank you, Mr. President. Board. I'm presenting to you for approval claims and payroll since our last board meeting. For the month of July, we had $2,334,931.16, and I am presenting that to you for approval.
Mrs. Collier makes the motion in a second. Jeremy, you want to second that?
Second.
Larry's waiting on you, I guess. First,
I'll just-
got a motion in a second. A motion by Mrs. Collier, a second by Mr. Gilbert. Any questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Thank you.
Thank you.
Move.
For approve.
Well done.
Moving on, item G, curriculum, Mrs. Stanton.
Just update for you, we had Wednesday, we had a virtual open house for our Empire Virtual Academy for grade students that will be in grade 6 through 12. We had one at 12:30 live where parents could watch live, and we had an email address that they could email questions to throughout the open house that we answered at the end. And another one at 6 o'clock, and then we also have them recorded for viewing on our website. And as for viewing, we've had over 500 views on those, so I think people are taking advantage of watching those. We've had 375 students express interest in Empire Virtual Academy, and we will do an open house Monday at 1 o'clock. Again, it will be live then, and then we'll play the replay for students in grades K through 5 that are interested in this option. So we're excited to have this, and parents have been asking great questions. And we also have an email, it's empire@nlcs.k12.in.us that goes to multiple viewers, so we can answer questions as they come up. So we just want to help parents make the best decision for their families here as we begin the school year. Also, Playful Pathways, our preschool program, we have enrollment appointments beginning next week where families will actually come in and enroll their students. And so we're excited to get that underway and start greeting families at the Learning Center. And then finally, our teachers have been hard at work all summer, but especially the last couple of weeks as we've really geared up to go back, and they have been participating in Orton Gillingham training. Amplify is our new English language arts curriculum. They've been doing training for that. Our math, open up math training, our middle school 6 through 8 actually has been doing training on that. readable English training they've been participating in. And some of these multiple, they're virtual, so they'll sit on one in the morning and then take a break and go to another virtual session in the afternoon. Also Google Classroom, again, and we've prepared for whatever this year may bring. Our teachers have been gearing up to highlight and practice best practices. So if we do all have to go virtual at some point, they have those best practices decided and are collaborating and working on those. So they've been busy, we've been busy, we're just getting ready to welcome students, both virtually and in person soon. That's all I have.
The open house on Monday, if someone wants to watch that, where do you go? You may mention it.
Yes, so that's okay. No, you go to the NLCS website and under schools, you can choose Empire Virtual Learning Academy and the video will be housed there.
The ones that we've already had,
It's housed there.
it's housed there, and then the one that would be live, is that where they watch the live?
Yeah, they can watch it. It streams right in there and then it will also live there for the replay.
Thank you, Maggie.
One question, what's the preschool? What kind of numbers do you think you're looking at? How much interest have you had in that?
We have, we've had, I think 45 was our last, with the enrollment survey, but let me double check. And Mrs. Pritchett's been reaching out to families, and some families are enrolling. They have a 3-year-old that will be 3 throughout this year, but they want to get them on the list and get them ready. So they are continuing, 64, we're up to 64 families that have expressed interest. So Mrs. Pritchett is contacting families that have expressed that to see, just verify the options and if they're interested in coming in and joining us. We're excited about that.
Good.
That's great.
And it's probably a possibility, like we've done the open house for the Virtual Learning Academy.
Absolutely,
We've talked-
absolutely.
We haven't
Preschool
done that
teachers
yet.
have been hard at work getting classrooms ready at soccer and Northwest Learning Center, and they have. So we're excited we want to videotape the rooms and have those and kind of welcome by the teachers. They've been also, in addition, teachers have been preparing their classrooms. So we're excited. Yeah, we'll definitely have virtual open house when those rooms look like learning spaces as they're unpacked.
Well, thank you for all you've done. I've talked to a couple of teachers here the other day. I just ran into them, and they had a lot of good things to say about you and the job you're doing. So thank you.
They're great teachers to work with. So. Well, there's a lot of emotions going on.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on, item H, personnel, Mrs. Winzak.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'll begin with personnel. Under certified, Lindsay Bailey, our North Lawrence Community Schools Director of Special Education. Shelby England, North Lawrence Career Center Health Science 1 instructor. Melissa Kaiser, Bedford Middle School FACS instructor. Brooklyn Morrow, Playful Pathways Lead facilitator. Lindsay Terry, Lincoln instructor. And I bring those to you for your approval.
Get a motion to approve.
Make a motion.
Gilbert makes the motion. That was quick.
Rob Jeremy.
And a second.
Second.
Mr. Arnold seconds the motion. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Thank you.
Thank you. And transfers, under certified, we have Jenna Clark transferring from BNL Director of Counseling to our NLCS Career Pathways Coordinator, and Connie McDaniel transferring from Heltonville to Project Lead the Way Coach. And I bring those to you for your approval. You left off the asterisk, but that is an approval item.
I was wondering that. Get a motion to approve.
So moved.
Make the motion.
Mr. Gilbert makes the motion, seconded by Mr. Arnold. Questions on the motion?
Yeah, the Connie McDaniel position, will that be at the Career Center or the Project Lead the Way?
No, she's actually going to be housed at
Bedford
Well, yeah. that's the
Middle School.
Yeah, but she will work K-12.
Right.
Okay.
She's actually, we've had conversations today, and she's actually gonna support our Empire virtual learning. And Project Lead the Way has modules at the elementary level that are already virtual. And so, we'll offer that as kind of an elective at the elementary level, because we know all parents are gonna be in different situations, but if it's something that they want more, she'll offer some Project Lead the Way virtually for those families as well. So, we're excited about having her in that role and continuing to create partnerships and build that between the Career Center and our winter grades
In middle school,
and middle school. Yeah.
and so she's gonna be busy. She
Yeah.
also does trainings in the summer, and so it's a very important position for us.
Thank you.
A motion and a second. Any other questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion's carried.
Thank you. And under extracurricular, we have a lot, and I know you all have a copy of it, so I would like to present those to you under sections 1, 2, and 3 as listed for your approval. If that's okay?
I reviewed them, or you guys,
I'm good.
you okay with that?
I make a motion to accept the list as presented. How's that?
Thank you. We've got a motion, second? Mr. Arnold makes the motion, Ms. Collier seconds the motion, questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Thank you. And under section D, we have certified and ECA personnel for your information as listed there. And I won't read those unless you have any questions in that section.
Christie, hang on one second. I think we had a motion and a second, and all in favor. I didn't hear Jeremy say aye. I think we had 3 of us. Jeremy, on the
I want to abstain. Abstain, please.
Oh, it's there. So,
Can we just take them off?
Yeah, we have several volunteers on there.
but.
Yeah, the majority present passes.
You're fine. You're fine. You can abstain.
Okay.
It's majority present, as long as you have a quorum.
Gotcha.
Okay,
So we're good.
that motion carried. Thank you. Sorry about that. So item D, I'm sorry.
Okay, so those are just resignations for certified and support and PCA. And those are information items. Anybody have any question on that section? Okay, then moving on to retirement, we do have Richard Prost retiring as NLCS maintenance and Melissa Calver retiring as NLCS food service. For your information, and then 3 medical leave requests there as listed. Any questions?
I don't believe so.
All right, thank you. I do have another approval there, and I know you have it in your packet there for the 2020 summer band budget, and then a separate item, but same approval for the BNL summer camps, those sports camps. And they've been adjusted since they didn't start as soon. And will be adjusted again as things change, but we wanted to bring them to you for your approval. Oh, okay. Email to you, I guess, previously.
Yeah. Could get a motion to approve.
So moved.
Arnold makes the motion in the second.
Second.
Collier seconds the motion. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same. Motion's carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
Moving on. Item I, general, Dr. Mumble.
First, I'd just like to share all of the work that's been done by so many of the teachers and the principals, and just like Maggie, all of the training we've had. Every day we've had Zoom meetings or trainings, or they've been having trainings at the high school. And we're blessed and really excited. And I think every day we come to work, many of us, and just looking at ways we can not only meet the students of the needs in person, as we're scheduled to start back August 10th, but also virtually. Or if we have those students that need some time away from school during the school year. So we're really doing our best to prepare for all of those different options. Our reopening plan is obviously on our website, and we'll continue to monitor. Just yesterday, I was in a Zoom meeting with Dr. Box, and was able to watch and observe, and as we learn more. So that information is on the website. We'll continue to look. Our principals will be starting back. They will be reaching out to all of the students in their schools with School Messenger, and sending messages out to all of our families where they have questions. And I think as we transition back, a lot of those, our employees transition back full time, especially the 2 weeks before school starts. I know many of the teachers in the classrooms, they're ready to get back in their classrooms, and we've been spending a lot of time waxing and doing different projects in the schools and different things. And we're going to start allowing that next week. They've been asking, and they're anxious to get back into the schools and start getting set up. So with the prom and graduation, any questions on the reopening plan? I apologize.
That's okay. So I'm getting some questions, and I mean, I know the policy's on there, but I think just bottom line, people want some answers as far as, do our kids have to wear masks all day at school?
With the current plans, and if you go through, and we have, Mrs. Dayton did a great job kind of talking through those points. Obviously, we are looking at this time with our current plan, and obviously, the one thing we have to understand is that that plan is fluid. Currently, we have it that we're in the yellow area, and if you go to our website, it's right there. We have the mask being required on the school buses, and those areas where social distancing just isn't available. I know many school districts are moving towards, and I think, again, as we continue to get information from our Lawrence County Health Department, and lots of information from the Indiana Department of Health and the Indiana Department of Education, that we are seeing a trend where we're probably a little bit at that tipping point, but we're starting to move to the best of our ability to requiring masks in our schools.
And then something else that I noticed another school was doing, I know with like the little kids, kindergartners, first, second grade, it's gonna be hard to keep the mask on those kids. I mean, I get that. So I know, or making sure they're wearing their mask. You know, you can kind of see that being an issue. Just no little kids. So I know in one school, I think they're doing the like plexiglass or whatever, the clear plastic around each desk. And I mean, I'm sure it's expensive, but is that something that we maybe look into, because, you know, teachers can still see them, they can still see their friends, they just wouldn't be exchanging, you know, the bodily fluids and everything like that, and but the teachers can still see what they're doing and can still see what's going on. Have we looked at anything like that for our little kids?
We're looking at lots of different options. You know, plexiglass is one, obviously.
Or whatever it's called. I
well,
assume that's what it is. Like clear
yeah,
plastic
yes.
kind of a sturdy thing.
But you know, it's almost like Clorox wipes. It's a good idea, but you can't find them and you can't get them.
Yeah.
And that's where we're all at with plexiglass at this time. I don't know if any of you have been to Lowe's and tried to purchase some, but you know, it's the difficulty. But we are looking at different options. I think I know Dr. Lemons had some good ideas with different stations and different opportunities, almost kind of like a portable desk and different things that we would kind of see maybe traditionally used as a lunch tray or a lunch, you know, something that you could eat lunch off of. But we're looking at those different opportunities for different students. And I know as the principals come back and even the teachers, we've shared a lot of plans that have been made available from other schools. So we're exploring those options. We're looking at having wipes in all of our classrooms. It isn't the traditional Clorox wipe that you would buy, but they're dry wipes, but we can add the sanitizer and the, you know, the disinfectant. So we have those wipes there. We're obviously looking at the hand sanitizer and different things. And there was one other option. Well, obviously with our custodial, like I said earlier, different things we can do.
And I know, I think I sent an email on this one, I just seen an article about the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, like, you know, schools making requests to them, and they were giving out some PPE and different supplies and stuff, and I think they said maybe, I can't remember how many school districts had made that request. Did we get a request into them as well?
We reached out to them. We've reached out to the Department of Education. We've reached out to some, and then the governor's office. I received something from State Representative Chris May that forwarded today. I think there's a couple grant opportunities that we're filling out. So that in itself is almost the job, you know, just that tracking that. But those are all opportunities. And I think the good thing we can say, in good faith, we are getting support to purchase and provide those items. I probably initially, you know, was like, oh, how much is this going to cost us? You know, we're with the funds we're going to receive and everything, it's going to be minimal, which you start to get nervous the other way. So, but I think those are very good questions. You know, we went down through there and there is that flexibility, and I see it even, there is that possibility with the district our size that our schools might be different. And the way we handle lunch in a certain school versus another school may be different because of the size of the cafeteria or the different opportunities that we have. We may have to set up 2 lunchrooms in a sense, using a gym or an auxiliary gym or something of that nature. So, you know, our schools aren't the same size, but yet I really think as we proceed, we really need to use that data to help us drive some of our decisions. A lot of the conversations out there, if we get to a 25% absenteeism rate, you know, that's kind of where a lot of schools are setting that number as, okay, when we get to that point, we're going to go to digital learning. But we also have to realize, and I think we want to try to project or communicate ahead to our families, because we do know we had 3 large employers that contacted us, and I think, you know, that a majority of their employees were female, and childcare was a concern, and not that we make that our decision, but even we might try to look and at least have some opportunities that even if a school was closed, that we could still meet the needs of some of those students if there wasn't other opportunities. But obviously the number would be limited, and that is a possibility. We're really doing our best to listen to the community. You know, we have places on our website, and you know, that's something that more than one parent has said, well, you can't just close school on one day and then, you know, what am I going to do? I don't have family here. I don't have a grandmother. I don't have a brother and sister. I relocated here. I work at Crane and I have to be on the base on the days I'm scheduled. So we're going to try to listen to those concerns and be understanding of that.
One other question. If it comes, I know this is kind of brought to my attention as well. My husband thought of it. If we have a teacher, or I guess it's staff that's exposed and then, they have to do the quarantine, they're asking, do they have to use sick pay or, I know there's the federal money, but the 2 week, you get the 2 weeks pay, from like the federal package or whatever. I'm assuming our employees would be with the CARES Act or whatever it's called.
That's
I assume
correct.
They would get to utilize that as well.
Absolutely. They would have to go through the different steps that's needed, just a note from the doctor. And then, they'd have to bring their test in that they've been tested and went through that process. But yes, there is the CARES Act, the COVID that would cover the 10 days, the 2 weeks. If someone needed to quarantine, I think a lot of that, and those are some discussions that a lot of the schools are having, and many of us are hear of different situations, and it's not really a blanket that it's this many days, or it's almost what the doctor recommends. Obviously, if someone is much serious and they're showing effects and different things, that stay may be longer than someone that is not showing the effects, but they've been around someone or for some reason they have been tested. So those are things we're going to work through. We've not been comfortable just coming out with a blanket statement if a student or
So the student have to have, so if the student contracts it, or a teacher, I guess, or staff contracts it, would we require a negative test before they're allowed to return to school?
Yes. And I think that test, yes. They'd have to have a positive test, and
Right.
I believe all of our health department and all of the information that I've been receiving, because it's tracked very closely, that is just something that they continue and they have to provide even the health department. And then we get the release and they would tell us that the person is clear. It's a little bit of a gray area where we would get involved with the doctor and the test and those kinds of things, but we would need something before they would return. And I'm hopeful that between now and August 10th, that as all of our schools across the state of Indiana get much closer to going back, that we get some guidelines put in place and that are a little more consistent from school district to school district. I would welcome that and appreciate that.
Yeah, I was hoping the state would give us more guidance for all of this right now, but we're doing our best.
Yes. That's a little bit on any other questions on the reopening plan? We just shared where it was posted and some information and different things, and obviously that it is a fluid plan. So
I think most of the guidelines looking at like returning to school and things are all still based on the CDC and World Health Organization. So as of right now, it still is. Like if you're exposed, it's 2 weeks of quarantining. As long as you don't have symptoms, you can come back. If you are positive, it's 10 days of quarantine and 72 hours or 3 days without symptoms. So if you are at 10 days still having symptoms, whether it's cough, shortness, breath, you still have to wait. You have to be 3 days free of that. So day number 10, you're still coughing, then you have to be till day number 13. If you're still coughing, then it's day number 16. So in terms of retest, and the problem we're getting into is that people can be asymptomatic and no longer shed virus, but still have positive tests. We had a patient in the hospital 40 days because the nursing homes were requiring that they have negative tests to come back. So we had one 40 days. So that's why the return tests are just a little bit, it's inaccurate in terms of whether the person's actually shedding virus or not.
So just because just requiring a negative test might not be good enough is what you're saying. Is that what you're saying?
No, I'm saying like so I'm saying that realistically, so like right now, so if I were to test, if you go right now and get a test done, it's 3 to 5 days before you get the result back. And before you, I mean, any result back. Those fast tests that they're doing in these prompt care clinics, if they're positive, they're positive. But if they're negative, they're 50% of the time they're wrong. So it's so that it has a positive, it doesn't matter. The idea is if it's positive, it's positive. But if it's negative, it's 50% of the time you still actually make it positive. And so that's why that's a little bit dicey. But so the retesting procedure is not something that would probably, I mean, I don't think is going to be reasonable to try and do. But I mean, again, the guidelines right now, if you're positive, so we're doing the hospital. If you come to the hospital right now and you're sick, you keep in the hospital till you're stable. At 10 days, you're getting a phone call, and anybody who's positive right now is getting phone calls from the city or from the county like 2 or 3 times a day. Like they're checking on them a couple of times a day at least. And then the key still is if you're positive 10 days, if at 10 days you're fine, you have no symptoms, you can go back to work. We do not retest you. If you are still having symptoms, you stay home, and the county will guide that. They'll call you like, are you having cough, fever? So they say yes, then they're going to say you can't go back to work for another 3 days. And then they'll call you every day, and then day number 3, are you still having symptoms? Yes, then until you're symptom free. The system right now is so bogged down with in terms of testing that it would just be very difficult to test people who come back.
That's a much better answer than I provided. It's fluid. Did I tell you it's fluid? It just changed right there. Did you catch it?
A lot of places, I know I went to the Boys and Girls Club and they had somebody there checking temperatures. Is that something we're gonna do also?
We're not, I mean, our plan at this time is for self-checking to help, to monitor at home. I think the realistic, and I don't know of any school district that has plans to take the temperature of all of their students and staff every day.
I know, of course, obviously, we've all gotten several emails on people wanting to sell us those little ones that you just hold up close to their forehead and shoot them in the forehead with a temperature gun. I don't know how accurate those are.
I mean, but the time it would take, people have to go like an hour early to school to get through. I mean, even at Indianapolis, they're using these infrared, like, they almost look like metal detectors that come through. But those are incredibly expensive. And they set off an alarm if you come through the temperature. But honestly, even our clinic, we were not doing temperatures until about a week ago. Up until then, we were just talking, you ask patients a series of questions. And if you pray they answer them, correctly. But obviously, if somebody looks at wrong, that's a no-brainer. We need to have somebody that can recognize, okay, John doesn't look well today. He needs to just go and just these guys temperature check.
We do have on there a prom and graduation update. As we know, last night, some additional or guidelines were extended. That is something that we're just going to have to take a little bit of time and, address and obviously work input from our local health department and other officials. And so we will communicate that out, as quickly as we can. Obviously, a lot of things, it continues to be our desire to do what we want, and we'll make every effort. So I can't say anything specific at this time, but I would like to, I'm hopeful that we would be able to share something tomorrow, or at least, before the weekend. So at least we would know what we're doing a week from now. I have some items for you just to update. I know we had a first reading. Just need approval of the Neola policies. Many of these policies are sent to school districts across the state just to keep our policies up to date with Indiana code. So I have those items, or that item, that needs your approval.
Get a motion to approve. Dr. Gerges makes the motion in a second.
Second.
Gilbert seconds the motion. Questions on the motion?
I just had a question. It referenced, one of those policies referenced the North Lawrence Learning Center, like the North Lawrence Career Center and the North Lawrence Learning Center. What
I have no,
Did Amina approve that, or?
I'd have to go back and look at it. I can't remember unless it would have just been listing all of our different,
It was talking
Facility.
about who
It
is
was-
considered an administrator.
Position. So I think there was a director of.
oh,
Workforce
it was
Center.
probably Mrs. Storms.
Oh, the.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Yes.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mhm.
Any other? No other questions on the motion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same.
Because honestly, I did not get a chance to read all 53 attachments that were sent to us yesterday. I got about half of them opened and read through, so I'm just gonna abstain because I don't want to vote on something I did not read, so just be honest.
Okay.
Thank you.
Next up, just need approval. We've listed, I think I have, for you, just approval of our auction items. We just need that for the State Board of Accounts, just so we have, that the board has approved for us to, sell these items.
How much of these items will be sold?
I would anticipate, typically it's usually 60%, that we end up having to, either take to recycling or dispose of. It's, and we did do a very good job of, trying to go through the items and look at, the student desk and teacher desk and different things. And we have sorted out the best, and we're looking at maintaining, or, we'll have a few of those items. And I know. Yes.
Get a motion to approve. Mr. Arnold makes the motion in a second. Dr. Gerges seconds the motion. Questions on the motion? When's the auction?
It is July 25th, a week from Saturday. And we'll have it at 2 locations, just so we don't have to move the items a third time, because a lot of times we have to dispose of the items. But it's going to be at the Triangle Leahy Building and then out at the high school. So, and of course, Tony Kinzer has done all the school options, having the auction.
Motion? In a second. Question, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Item J, persons to address the board. So we have 2 cards. Mr. Phillips, you're up first. I want to read the persons to address the board. If you wish to make public comments, please, I got your card. As a reminder, public comment. The board and administration will not be answering questions, and there's a 3-minute time limit. So we won't interrupt you with your 3 minutes, but you'll have 3 minutes to make comment, but we're not answering questions.
I wish you would. Anyways, I want to thank you addressing the COVID-19 issue, Ms. Collier, Mr. Burgess, Mr. Monroe. Because that was a lot of my questions was about that. And I think if we will hit them, I'm thankful for that. So thank you very much. I appreciate that. So my next question is, when will the trustee of Springville get the school back? And are you auctioning off things that were in that building or property that was in that building? I think at 68 or 9, before I was a little baby, when the school was gave to Northwest Community School Systems, it was furnished. It had equipment in it, it had a desk in it. So my question is will it return furnished? Or is it in the auction set up on the 25th of July? Is it all in there? Was anybody sick, got COVID from cleaning out the schools during the height of COVID-19? Everybody safe? Good. So that's what I'd like to answer. Have somebody, when the trustee can get the school back. No answers. You're gonna drag your feet. Wait for 5 years, 10 years. Sit on it. No response.
Mr. Phillips, I told you it's for public comment.
Well, that says a lot, folks, right there, when they won't answer, when the school can get released and to
I read
return
that same,
to the schools, to return to
same
the
thing every
district,
meeting, Mr. Phillips. Every meeting.
return back
I read
to
that.
the
But we allow
township,
you to answer questions.
return
We
back
allow,
to the
we answer
township.
questions, we're not answering your questions.
It's required, requested by law to get the school back. I figure somebody jump in and answer. Mr. Pittman, would you help me out
So as soon as you're done making your public comment, I'll make a comment to the board.
about it? Okay.
I don't want to take up your time
You're
answering your
not taking
question.
my time up, but I just want to answer.
You
so
got
I
3
appreciate
minutes
it.
to make the comments, and I'll make a comment.
Okay. Newspapers, everybody pay attention because they didn't want to answer it. So it was an agenda. Thank you.
We're in communication with the Springville trustee, or Perry Township trustee, and that's really all I can comment on at this time, so.
I want Ms. Fuller to know something else, by the way. Another minute, second. I don't know if it's true or not. The air conditioners are supposedly rented. And they've been removed by the superintendent. So I'd like
Air
to,
conditioners only.
it's supposedly been rented
Rented.
at Springville and removed during COVID-19. I don't even know if it's true. So if it is, we take it out. Somebody, doctor, or just somebody. Anyways, that's it. Thank you.
Next up, Donna Garber.
Okay, I have two things. You talked about the prom, and I was wondering, I don't know if you mentioned, if you were saying there's not gonna be a prom, or if they're gonna have to reschedule it again. I was kind of,
We don't know.
okay,
We don't- yeah,
All
we
right.
don't know right now.
so the kids spend an awful lot of money on prom. The rental of the tuxes, the flowers. Now, my daughter's going, and she spent $150 on a dress, which was amazing. Her boyfriend spent $250 on a tux. Luckily, the people since extended it to a different time. If you're not gonna do the prom, and I totally understand that, is there compensation for the kids or, you know?
Can I say, Dr. Marvel, I want, the school board has been, we have been doing everything that we can do
Right, and I know.
to try to do what we can for the students regarding prom and graduation. I mean, I feel that we're criticized for pushing it back.
Right.
And so we could have thrown in the towel with, like a lot of the other big schools did early on.
Right.
But that is important to the school board to do that. Right. And we're continuing to try to do that. We have an executive session this evening. The doctor in the house could not be here, our earlier executive session. So we've got a lot of work to do tonight to try to figure this out. So we can't tell you if we're going to have one right at this moment, but rest assured, we are doing collectively as a board every single thing we can do. Because I'm sure that we all have some student that we know that's in the same shoes as yours. Now, as far as compensation for an individual, how can we, how can we?
I know,
do that?
I'm just
But I
like,
can say that we have all of these different things that we've thrown at the wall to try to do. But we have, we are at the states and the Department of Health, and, I mean, our hands are being tied.
Right.
But to be able to tell you or anybody else, we don't know from day to day what we can do, but we are trying, and we're gonna keep pushing. He may want to strangle me, but we really are trying to do this.
Right, and I understand that. It's just, you know, these kids, some kids don't have a lot of money, you know, and they work odd jobs, they do whatever they can to earn the money because this is a big event. And they were so excited about going. And then, you know, if they can't go, then
So
I don't know, get
if we
dressed up.
can't, no, I'm just saying without saying, I mean, you know, the school, if it comes to where the school can't put something together,
Right.
maybe there's some organization out there that would like to take it on. A parent group, you know, whatever it might be. But it could be as such that we can't do something.
Can't do it, can't do it. And I
So-
understand.
Again, rest assured, I'm speaking for these folks right now because they all feel the same way that I do. That all of our kids are being shortchanged with this COVID, okay?
Exactly.
And so we are pushing. We've got lots of things. As you know, you was here last month addressing the support staff. We've got this COVID, but we feel that support staff is still very important to get that done. And we're juggling COVID. We're juggling prom, graduation, and so, and a reopening plan. So please rest assured that we are pushing and doing everything we can do to make prom and graduation happen. Whether we can do that or not, right here at 7:59, we don't know.
Well, I appreciate it. I mean, I really appreciate you guys, you know. I know it's a difficult situation and nothing's ever gonna be the same ever, you know, after all this. Okay, now, thank you for opening that up with, I was here last time. Again, I'm here to speak about the support staff. Dr. Mungall had an amazing program for us the other day and showed the different things that, you know, he was looking at doing and everything. And so my information is going to be from my wage, which is $13.30. I made a mistake last time. I apologize. So I just don't understand why you're messing with our days. There isn't any benefit. At retirement, if a person retires and they have so many days that they have banked and they want to cash them in, so to speak, we don't get the full amount. We only get $45 or $50. I personally would get $106.40 per day. I would only get $45 or $50 for every day. So you are benefiting by $61.40. So it's not really a loss to you. It's just right at that moment, it's a large sum. So do you get that? Okay, like we only get half of what our days are worth when we retire.
I'd be happy to visit with you after the meeting and we can talk
Because
in
I
more
think that
detail.
there's a lot of people, a lot of individuals from what our discussion has been that aren't the same. So
Right. So I can only speak for me. I can't
Right.
speak for anybody else. So me personally, I would lose $60 if I banked all my days and at retirement got them instead of using them up. If I used my sick days, okay? So it's your benefit. I lose the $61. Okay, so you know it is a loss. You know, of like $5,000. You had mentioned $5,000. We don't like to go pay out $5,000 immediately when somebody retires. Okay, but it would be a lot more than $5,000 if I had used the days all along. So it's kind of like a savings account, but that's fine. If we get 10 personal days, we have to use them within a certain period of time, or we lose them. With sick days, we don't lose anything. So, because he had mentioned that he wanted to change our sick days from 15 days to 5 days, and then up our personal days to 10 days. So instead of doing that, why not just leave us alone? Why not? Because it's making so many people so unhappy. You close schools to save money. Well, what happened to all that money? I mean, it had to go somewhere. And, if it can't go for wages and improvements and different things like that, then what was the whole purpose? If we do get a raise, you had mentioned something about doing step raises. Is it going to be a substantial raise, or is it just going to be a shot in the dark? With us losing the 11 days that you had appropriated, because originally it would have been 45 days, because I get three weeks vacation. So then it goes to 38 days. That's a loss of 11 days. 11 days times my pay is $1,170. I would be losing $1,170.40. It would take me, at a 20-cent raise, 58.5 days to recoup that 11 days. You follow me?
Yeah, and I think what we looked at was that those 11 days, your daily rate, you would be compensated that money based towards your salary.
So
Right.
we get a raise. So I wouldn't be out that $1,170. I would get a raise substantial to that, like $1 or whatever it would be. I mean, I'm not saying $1, I'm just
Yeah, I
saying,
can't.
because I don't have a calculator in front of me.
But the intention, you mentioned 45 days. So do you have 40, are you at the point where you have the 45 days off?
She actually receives 49 days a year off.
49 days. correct?
49 days off.
So the
'Cause I have
proposal
3
is
weeks
going
vacation.
to 38, okay?
Right.
So 49, 30, 11 days.
Right.
My understanding, board's understanding was that your daily rate times the 11 days.
Is $1,170.40.
So if the 11 days goes, you're paid that on your salary.
And then extra on top of that, right?
And then
Yes.
extra on top of that.
Extra on top of that.
So then you're going to increase my pay substantially, not 20 cents, not 50 cents.
You should have, I showed 10 different groups,
Right. And that's,
spreadsheets, and at the top of it, you could have seen what it was increased. Most of them was at least a $2,000 a year raise. The other thing that does is that increases your W-2 amount.
okay, so.
And when we increase the wages of any employee, that is the number we multiply to calculate how much money the school district sends to the public employee retirement fund. So that helps an employee's retirement. It also is the number we use to multiply for the Social Security. So by having that number larger, I know a lot of employees don't see any money that is sent to PERF, to the Public Employee Retirement Fund, and they don't see money that is sent to Social Security. But I do know when we would increase someone's salary from $33,500 to $39,000 or $38,000, that over time, especially when we multiply that number twice, it starts to have an impact. Probably a much greater impact than buying out some sick days at $50 each or something of that nature. And that is part of what we are wanting to do. And I think also we are trying to get that daily rate up what we can, because we have to, as you know, be able to attract new employees. yes, it is partially, I mean, it is about keeping and maintaining our current employees. And that's why none of us have any intention of taking anything away. Is it trading? Yes. I mean, if next year you would be able to take 38 days a year off instead of 49 this year. But we are wanting to give you that dollar amount. I mean, there, you will get those days. Now, some might say, I'd rather have those days off, and I don't want what I would make those 11 days. I don't want added on my salary what you would pay me next year when I stay home and don't work those days. But we're going to say, you get that money. And like Mrs. Collier said, we're even adding some additional money on there as well. So there's a net increase, and then there's an overall salary increase. But the other thing is, it is very difficult, and many of our employees do not understand why there is so many different levels. Why some employees and very similar jobs, very similar the number of days they work, they may get 2 paid holidays, they may get 5 paid holidays, they may get 7 paid holidays, they may get 9 holidays, or they may get 15 paid holidays. And I think as an employer, a lot of this is trying to develop a better handbook so North Lawrence Community Schools can be a better employer. We need to be able to have some consistency, that we can communicate and that we can pay and do those types of things. But it is not what a blessing during this time when there's 55 million people unemployed in the United States. And we can look, and everyone since this board has been here, the percentage increase, and you can say percentage or we can say dollar amount, the increase that we have invested in our classified employees or non-certified employees or employees with hourly wages, meaning not our teachers or not the administration, has been more with that group than any of our other groups. And are we going to get it right in one swoop? No, but I can tell you, we chose not to kick the can down the road and not do anything. And just like the meeting in Schaefer Auditorium, and we took notes at that meeting, and we came back last night, and we had our meeting yesterday, and we all sat in here and we went through and we made some additional changes to get it closer to being right. We are a little bit under a time crunch. I would love for, if we can have something that the board could vote on and approve, and we are able to start in August for a new school year. And if we didn't get a little something right, or we missed these 2 or 3 employees over here that are this subgroup that we didn't catch, then we can come back and tweak it. But our goal is, I shared and I fully believe it, from our bus drivers who see our students first, to the custodians that clean our schools, and the maintenance men and all of the women that take care of our schools, from food service to all of our instructional assistants, our nurses and nurses aides, and all of our support staff. Teachers is a part of it. And as a superintendent, and I've been blessed and had the opportunity to see so much of the other at work that sometimes our teachers don't see, or maybe sometimes the principal doesn't see. They don't see us trying to see if our buses start at 5:30, if it's 5 below 0. Well, probably not 5 below. They'll probably want me to call school off. So, but all of those things, they haven't. How many times have you seen me walk through Needmore this summer?
Personally, probably about 4 times.
Yeah. And I've probably been there about 10. I mean, every day we're walking through, and I see it. I've seen the progression of that school. Needmore is not the same school it was last year. It's not close, is it? Those LED lights we put in it, they look great. The new paint that we painted all the hallways, now you don't have whoever's mopping in the kitchen at Needmore, We had 96 legs sitting on that floor that had to be mopped around every day. We purchased new tables that fold up. And well, we brought them from the other schools and we're using them and they fold up. But we're going to be able to clean that kitchen much better, cafeteria much better. And we're not done. In the parking lot, you got to love it. It changes the school, you know, and we've actually got lines on it and everything. So I guess exactly what Trent said, and I know I've went probably longer and I'll be told, but we're passionate about it and we want it to be better, and that's what we're trying. Is it extremely hard when we're talking about a group of 400? It is, because it's all over. But we're not taking that number away.
Okay, well, okay, so, sure.
Are you allowed to take vacation days during the school year?
It's frowned upon, but we can take them. It's frowned upon because we don't have any substitute custodians. So depending on what job you have, if you're the morning custodian, when you do the cafeteria, that means there's nobody there to clean up the tables, take the trash out, to mop up any messes. If you're an evening custodian, depending, it might be that some other people can get your trash and get your boards. Maybe they'll clean the bathrooms, maybe they won't. I had the gym at the high school for 8 years. If I took off, the gym did not get cleaned because nobody wanted to go over there and do it. So the bathrooms didn't get cleaned. When my daughter died, when she was sick, I was gone a lot. And I appreciate that all of you, you know, allowed me to have that time because I needed it. It didn't get cleaned. So the kids, you know, had to deal with it. And I was told that I was sorely missed, so that made me feel good. But anyway, I'm just saying it's very difficult because we don't have any substitute custodians. And depending on the school, you know, some people can pitch in, some can't. Sometimes the teachers will get their trash. Sometimes, you know, they'll flush the stools and stuff, and sometimes not. So it is very difficult if it's not in the summertime to take vacation. So, yes.
So I'll say, so goal, okay, think is to pay our support staff over, staff our buildings, as you just mentioned, try to get substitutes, okay, so we can raise the pay, take care of our tenured people that have been there, okay, taking days, that's what we're hearing in the messages we're getting. But we're taking 11 days, paying you for those 11 days, and then additional increase on top of that. And it's a start, okay? As he said, we're not going to get it all right the first time in one fell swoop, but we have been doing that for our support staff, and we can't do it all at once, obviously, but that's the goal. And you know, I said to you last time, the intention is not to take anything away. And so, you know, we have discussed as a board, we've seen the PowerPoints that he showed at the Schaefer yesterday. We had a number of questions about that. But as he said, each individual person has contacted me, Mrs. Collier, Dr. Gerges, Mr. Arnold. Him and his staff can go through individual people's thing and try to explain. We want everybody to understand their specific situation, like yourself. I don't, you know, we don't know that specific situation, but we know is that we don't want to take something from our support staff.
Right. But that's what it feels like.
I understand.
I
understand it's change. It's change. It's big change. As he said, it's all over the board. I can't imagine how many different things that they have dealt with. And once again, I'm gonna give them some kudos. We, as I mentioned, the things that we're faced with right now, but we're not kicking the support staff can down the road. We're taking on a lot, they're taking on a lot. We don't know what tomorrow brings with COVID, but we're not running from it. We're not giving up on our graduation for our seniors like some of the surrounding schools have, months ago, okay? We're trying, we're doing a lot of things at once, but we're trying and we're not forgetting about our school staff.
Okay, well, if and when you do give a raise, it's gonna be substantial, I'm assuming, because that's what you're kind of
So I
saying.
think right now, you
It's not
mentioned
gonna be
some
20
of them
cents.
was the salary, $2,000 a year. I don't know, once again, specific. I don't know who considers what substantial or.
A
but-
dollar.
But we're working towards.
Right. Okay, so if you're doing it like with a step raise, you know, I've already got 24 years. Do I go on the fast track or do I have to go with everybody else and take 6 months to a year to get a raise? You know, that's not really fair to me because I've put the time in. You know, you had said maybe do a step raise. That's what we had in the past.
Well, we're looking at everybody that we showed would go into effect in August. Nobody's gonna be waiting 6 months and everybody would go, you know, and not one person, their W-2 will hands down increase at least in more, but I can't, the more part I can't guarantee. I do know we're looking at adding 11 days times the daily rate on everybody's amount. And in January, you had an increase.
Yes, that's why last time I made
Yeah.
a mistake when I said $12. and
Right. And what did it go to?
$13.30,
And what were you at?
$12.83 or something, 80.
Yeah.
12.80, so 50 cents.
I mean, that was just 6-7 months ago.
Right.
So when I made that comment, I'll say it again, compared to all of our different employee groups, I mean, we know we have to do more than we did in January.
Right.
But we also have to realize in the short term we've been here, we're looking at 2 additional increases, you know. So there was that. And I'm just curious, when was the raise before that one happened?
8 years.
So we're trying,
Right.
We're
I
trying.
understand.
and I think, you know, I guess that has, you know, that needs to be part of the conversation too.
Right.
You know, it's hard.
I'm
you
not
know,
kicking you.
I know.
I'm just
But
saying.
I mean, with your group, I
Right.
mean, with all of our support staff,
I mean, you
we
faced,
have to say,
you faced an ugly group.
well, and
I mean, it was
I
just-
appreciate what they do, and I respect it, and I appreciate it.
Yeah.
But that's an
So-
example.
When we get this raise, is our insurance gonna go up? Is it gonna be?
Insurance is something completely separate. We have an insurance committee. I do my best. We're in a consortium with 11 other school districts. So I did take a move to move us in with other school districts. So when something of that nature happens, we're with lots of other school districts and you know, over 1,500 insured lives. I'm hopeful that will be a step in the right direction and it will help us as we went through the insurance committee. But I cannot sit here and predict what that will look like.
It's just,
I wish I could.
I don't wanna see us get a raise and then insurance goes up, so there goes your raise, so you're back to square one. I mean, you know, it's really unfair. And are we still gonna have the clinic?
Yeah. I
We
mean,
will still have the clinic?
yes. I mean, our intentions are to have the clinic and you know, some people's insurance goes up and they didn't get the raise. So they're not even back at square one.
Yeah.
You know, so we take that into consideration and that's one reason We're not waiting 8 years.
Okay, but we'll still get our increment pay, or that's gonna be,
We're looking at the increment pay. Yes.
okay, because I'd really like to keep it. I worked hard for it. Okay, will we be provided masks, custodians, or is it something we're gonna have to?
What I
purchase ourselves?
communicated at the meeting was, I mean, we have masks. We have purchased lots of masks. But I think we're becoming to an environment where many of us will keep our mask on us. And we will always have our mask with us. And we may have some personal, preference, or we're just going to have those masks. I'm hopeful that North Lawrence does not have to provide every student and every employee a mask every day. That'd be 6,000 masks a day.
It's very expensive, and
Yeah.
these are really hard to breathe through.
Yeah.
It might go better to have them made.
One of the things we're looking at, and I know this side note, but we are hoping, and we're looking at purchasing some of our school supplies that we have traditionally had parents purchase for their children. Those things that we can easily glue, paper products, pencils, rulers, those types of things, because we can provide those and provide some relief to those parents, but then that they could have those funds that would have traditionally with that to look at getting a mask that would be better prepared for their child, or a water bottle. So that's something we're looking at. I know it's a side note, but I knew we were on the same page.
Well, I want to thank you all very much for listening to me. I'm not trying to kick a dead horse. I wanted you to know that we do care. It is important to us, and it's not something that, we want to just ignore. And I won't be here next time, sorry. But I enjoy you all.
Thank you. Next up is Matt Olson.
Can I go first?
No. Sure.
Yeah.
Joe Timbrook.
All right. Good evening, Mr. President. Joe Timbrook, Director of Career Development, Lawrence County Economic Growth Council, Lawrence County Workforce Coalition, 1116 16th Street here, Bedford. Before I get it, normally I script out what I'm going to say to you because I don't want to say anything in case my filter goes crooked or whatever. But tonight I wrote it out, and then I decided, you know what, I'm going to throw it out. First of all, based on the agenda tonight, on behalf of the coalition, we're tickled that Jenna is going to be the new pathway person to go to school. We worked extremely well with Alexis, and we'll miss her, but Jenna is right there, and we're tickled about that. And then Connie McDaniel with the project lead the way position. And we've been collaborative partners in that as well. And I'm so tickled for that. We know that's going to pay big dividends for the school system, for the community as well. So thank you for that and approving those. I'm just here to also say thank you for allowing our first pilot program of the introduction to local jobs and skills at the Career Center that began this past Monday. After a whirlwind of hiccups, trying to get that thing going, it did start. We have 8 participants. And part of the reason I didn't want to script this tonight is after I typed it out, like the last 4 days have been absolutely amazing. I can't tell you what it's been like to work with 8 individuals, not all of them necessarily involved in the justice system, but to watch them be excited about something. We're gonna have visual evidence of their work at one point in time. So you know that. But these people are smart. They work hard and have done a tremendous job. The 3 things we've been working on with them were construction, welding, and precision machining. This week was construction, and Matt Olson has been with them for a week. I can honestly tell you there couldn't have been a better teacher to start out with this group than Matt. He knows how to talk to these guys, and it really was absolutely amazing just interaction with this group. And I can show you 50 pictures that we've taken. You'll see a press release today. There'll be another story on Saturday in the Times Mail, I think. But it's more than heartwarming. It's to see them interact and to see possible change in these people's life just based on an opportunity to learn some skills. Prosecutor was there today, had conversations with each one of them. Jeremy Brewer was there today and spoke to them all about the Labor's Training Institute and opportunities there. And so we're working on some collaborative things to try to make some of them a little more eligible to be able to do those jobs. And so I'm just here to say, like, thanks, what you approved for us to do out there. And we're going to be coming back and asking for more, because based on feedback, the list is going to get longer and longer. And this is the funnel we wanted to try to create to the people that aren't from the justice system. They came into the funnel just because we hadn't created the funnel. And so you'll see more of that as time goes on. No hiccups, no incidences. Everything has gone as planned. Sandy smashed his thumb twice, but other than that, we're good. So just want to say thank you. And there's on July 31st at 1 p.m. at Shungate Arts and Education Center is the graduation for these folks. You will not want to miss it. I will just tell you, 1 o'clock. We'll just keep it as short as we can. Some of this you just can't make up. I mean, it's awesome. And so we really want you to put it on your calendar if at all possible to be there. So just want to thank you for that. And also, I know Matt's here tonight too, because he's had them all week. And I think he wanted to say a few words. So again, thank you. If you have any questions, feel free, but thanks again.
Thanks, Joe. Next up, Matt Olson.
All right, Matt Olson, Springville, building trades instructor. It really is amazing. We had every age group from 17, which I'm used to, up to 33, which I'm kind of not used to. But wow, I'm telling you, first off, not an incident at all. That's always a big concern. But these guys were amazing. I mean, they truly were. They worked. It was hot, and they worked. We had a good time, and they built an 8x8 shed that you'll get to see. But they just poured their hearts into it. They really did. And just some of the things that they were, because these guys, they just made the wrong choices. They just made the wrong choices. The young guys, man, I mean, to see them in there just kind of almost devastates you a little bit too, because I mean, they haven't even begun their life, and they're already. But I mean, they all participated. Were very respectable of the facilities. Very respectful of me. I don't know. I guess I must have paid them because they commented quite well on me, but I thought, but they just did a great job, and they just poured their heart into it. And so, I think the program is just really great in the sense of what it's doing. It's giving them that skill, because these guys, this is what they're doing. We had Jeremy Brewer come out when he did. These guys were taking applications from him. They wanted to get involved. We had a guy who was interested in the sheet metal and was just pumped. And we mentioned you to speak with, because he was just ecstatic about the possibilities, and just some of the things that they did. It was absolutely amazing. And it was very, very, very good just to get back into teaching again, just to be able to be in the building. And I don't care how old they were. It was just awesome. Sometimes I caught myself getting on to them. Sorry, I'm not used to having my age in here. I'm used to having younger ones, but it was just good to see. So I just want to say thank you. It's a huge program, and it's going to be a big thing. So thanks.
Thank you.
Sure. I'd just like to say on this program, the way I kind of look at it, these are the jobs that are available in Lawrence County. Yeah. And we're gonna support them one way or the other. If we don't get them a skill, get them some pride in themselves, and get them a good job, they'll support themselves then. And what we invested in this was very little compared to what we would invest if they ended up in the correctional facility, because we all know how much that costs per day to incarcerate someone. And thank you for doing it. I appreciate it. That's what that career center is for. Yeah, that's right.
And next time, Mr. Timbrook, let us know. We'll make sure you go first.
Item K, closing business.
I got one more thing. The trustees sent 2 letters about the school, and now the lawyer still has about the school being transferred. Please check it out, board. Find out what's going on. Thank you.
They know what's going on.
We know what's going on.
You do?
Absolutely,
You're holding the school with that.
absolutely. All right, closing business, upcoming
You
meetings.
address everybody else and talk to them, so there's a double standard here.
Mr. Phillips, we ask you over and over and tell you this public comment. No, we're not gonna answer questions.
You've been answering questions ever since I stepped back from the pulpit, or the lecture, whatever you want to call it. I call it pulpit. Sorry.
Thank you for your comments. There'll be an executive
Also-
session.
Also, my school block, can I get on the, web page and watch a video of the Empire School and all that? That's exciting. Can I watch it? Okay. Can I see it there? Okay. Because I had a promise that somebody, I would be unblocked, and I've asked it almost every meeting, and it hasn't happened. With a handshake. A word should mean something. Mine and yours. Thank you. Have a good week.
There will be an executive session at 5:15 PM and NLCS School Board open session at 6:30 PM on Thursday, July 30th, 2020 at the NLCS Administration Building. There will be an executive session at 5:15 PM on Thursday, August 6th, 2020 at the NLCS Administration Building. There will be an executive session at 5:15 PM and NLCS School Board open session at 6:30 PM on Thursday, August 20th, 2020 at the NLCS Administration Building. With that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
You got it.
I second.
Good job. Questions on the motion? Seeing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye. Aye. Those opposed, say
Aye.
Thank you.
Oh, Jeremy's gone.